Good morning, everybody. We've got a new show starting today with Charles and Michael from HBHS, two of the greatest in the industry, man. I absolutely love being around these guys. I've been in their office, I've seen the culture they've built, and they're two absolute rock stars in the industry. Today, they're going to be discussing a zero equity deal, like something that had little to no equity in it at all, and they're going to discuss how they pulled almost $700 a month in cash flow out of this deal, as well as almost $300,000 in gross profit on the entire deal. We take a deal with almost limited to no equity, pull nearly $700 a month in cash flow out of it, and a cumulative close to $300,000 on a little to no equity deal, guys. Tell me that is not amazing. So I'd like to kick this show off, turn over the reins to Charles and Michael, let them introduce themselves. This is being a new show, and I really believe these guys bring massive value to the table. So let's take a look and give these guys a warm welcome over there. How are y'all guys doing today?
And good yourself, Daniel, man. Glad to be on here again. Thanks for the opportunity to have Home Buying Home Selling presents the REI Hustle every Thursday at 11 a.m. Daniel, really glad to be here, right, Charles?
That's right. Really glad to be here.
So tell me a little bit about yourselves. Tell me a little bit about everybody. For those out there that just so happen to not know who HBHS is. Tell me a little bit about the company over there.
You go ahead, Charles. Charles likes to break it down.
Well, in Cliff Notes, I was in the business before the crash. Got tore up. Started HBHS in 2012. Shortly thereafter, this guy right here is on this podcast with us, the show with us. Met my daughter. We became pretty tight, and he joined me in this quest that I had started. And together we grew HBHS from a little 10 by 10 room and no houses, no nothing, to just doing traditional, then fix and flips, then wholesaling, then subject twos, and portfolioing, now multifamily, now getting into pre-development. So it's just been, just progression of stuff that we've been getting into. We built the team. We got into the team atmosphere around 2015. Trained about, I would say, close to 100 people, maybe if not even 100 people, just in and out of our office. We used to accept people to come in here, bring your effort, determination, and your character. About 2 years ago, we started switching our systems. Lost a lot of people because of that, and what we ended up with was a core group of guys that just are fabulous. They totally just believe in the cause, and they're on this journey with us. And the motto here at HBHS is work with us, not for us, and that's how we rock and roll.
Well, much love, man. We've got close to 50 people watching already. With that being said, give everybody a little bit of an insight as to what y'all are going to be talking about today, because when you take a deal that has limited to no equity and you pull close to $700 a month in cash flow out of it and nearly $300,000 in gross profits, that's something to be proud of. Can y'all give us a little bit of insight as to what y'all did on this deal? And just give us a real quick recap for everybody that's already tuning in, that's joining in with us today. What are y'all going to be showing them today?
So a quick recap, guys. What you can expect on this new show, thanks to Daniel, on Propelio TV, is breaking down deals that Charles and I have personally done. It's real deals, real numbers, real strategies. We're going to break it down on all the actual files that we've closed and share it with you guys. And if it can help someone, then by all means, that's what we definitely want to do. So on this episode, we're going to be talking about subject to the solar panels. Now, Charles and I were talking like, man, this would probably be the best first episode on Propelio TV on the REI Hustle, is subject to the solar panels. Now, Charles and I, we've been blessed to do quite a few subject to deals. This subject to deal, a lot different than your normal subject to deal. Reason being, this one came with about $50,000 in liens. Now, the liens were solar panels and a water softener. Charles and I became very creative and say, how can we find a buyer to buy this house, pay off the solar panels, pay off the water softener, still make money, still cash flow for $650 a month, and over the lifetime of the investment, make close to $300,000. That's what we're talking about today, right, Charles?
Yeah, it's about figuring out how to put a deal together. that everybody's walking away from. That's what was happening. These couple was losing this property. They were going their separate ways. And the one thing that Mike and I have become very strong at, we work at it, is figuring out how to put deals together from the creative perspective. So using different strategies and coming up with different exit strategies to put these things together. And a lot of times there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things that we're going to go into right now that will determine whether we're going to do a deal or not. And this one was very close to we almost didn't do it, but in the end we figured it out. And today it's one of our strongest deals that we actually have in our portfolio.
Well, extremely glad to be hearing that. So, what's the next step? How is this show format normally going to go? Because like we've got about 65-ish people now watching across multiple channels. What's this show going to look like today?
Let me set it up for Mike real quick. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set it up, and we're actually going to show some real world examples, real numbers, and we're going to be doing a split screen so we can share this stuff with people. So let me just share what happened. What happened was one of our guys identified a property that a couple was losing. And when we're there, we're always marketing, we're always talking, we're always figuring out what's going on. Hey, we found out that the guy across the street was also in a situation. And that comes from, just building rapport and talking to people, because you never know who has a deal for you and who you can help. And so we literally locked up a deal. Signed the contract, and we walked right across the street and got into another deal. And so that deal right there, what was happening was they were parting ways, and some stuff happened between them, and it was a beautiful home. It was actually one of the largest deals we had done, because we usually try to stay between 175 and 275. This one was pushing 300. It was actually over 300. And what we look for in these transactions is, for example, what type of loan is it? When did you buy it? What's the rehab like? What does it look like? Of course, we always want to go after properties that are zero equity. That's what we do. We do a lot of that. We're always real conscious about rehab. If there's a lot of rehab and a reinstatement, it's probably not going to happen. And people ask us why. Well, because we have to take into consideration what the down payment is. So the going rate in San Antonio at that time was $20,000 to $30,000, and you got to put $40,000 to $50,000 into this property. Now you're going to float money, and in most cases you're making maybe $400 to $500 on a subject to. Sometimes you make $3,000, and if you're going to float $15,000 to $20,000, this person's going to be in your house for several years before you make some money. And so this is the house right here. So we wanted to take this property down. There was a lot of moving parts. There was a water softener he had just gotten. There was solar panels he had just put on. 2 huge debts. He was already behind on payments, and there was some equity in the property, but he'd only had it for I think 4 or 5 years. There was some equity because the property was appreciating, and then we almost walked on it. There was about $50,000 worth of debt that we had to either cough up or figure out how to put together. And lo and behold, we figured it out. And I'm going to let Mike talk about how we got into that.
Hold on a second. I've got a question for you, because my simple mind's not following this. Y'all were saying that there was about $50,000 in debt that y'all took over Sub2 with some mechanics liens. Was there an underlying mortgage that y'all were also taking over Sub2?
Yeah.
Because you're talking about a $300,000+ house, but only taking
there
over
was
$50,000 in liens.
Yeah, there was an underlying mortgage. I want to say what the ARV was. What, 325, Mike?
325 was the ARV, yeah.
Yeah, 325. I think they would. You got the numbers? You want to pull it up?
I do got the numbers. I don't know how you want to do this, Daniel. We want to do a share screen, if you can see my screen.
Yeah,
because I definitely want to make sure everyone understands what we're talking about.
Yeah, let's go through this. Let's let people look at this and see how you broke this deal down.
Okay, if you want, I know this is our first time, but we actually can go through some of the steps real quick. If you want to go through that, Mike, or you just want to get into the numbers.
Go through everything. Like let's see what this deal looks like, because that's a pretty house.
I'm gonna go through this, and then you can explain the numbers, Mike.
All right.
So all right.
Yep.
All right. Go to the next slide, brother. So here's what we're looking at. Daniel, who we're breaking down a subject to. So one right away is that a new build. If it's a new build, I'm already thinking no equity. What's the motivation of the seller? What are the issues, the motivating issues? Where's the mortgage statement? Is there a reinstatement, or are they just behind? Property inspection. We want to look at the property. Now, we have gotten really good at buying properties without even looking at them. We've been doing them in El Paso, in Corpus, and Laredo, Houston. So we're really getting good at that. But we always want to try to have eyes on the property. You go to the next one, Mike. So another thing that we're always looking at, and we do this fairly quickly. You know, if it's a new build, we're always wanting to figure out, okay, when was it built? So if I know it's more than 5 years old, it's going to need a little bit of love. If it's pushing 8, 9, 10 years, it's going to need some work. And if it's anything more than that, we're talking about a rehab now. So we're real conscious about that. If it's 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, you know, it's still usually in really, really good condition. So we're looking at no equity. So we want to know what's the purchase price and what's the current balance. So what did they buy it for? What did they purchase it for? And what's the current balance? We want to see the mortgage statement because we want to get all the mortgage information. We want to identify the type of loan. Is it a VA, FHA, USDA, and a conventional? And the reason we want to know that is because, for example, if it's an FHA or USDA, we already know there's an extra MI payment there. And the MI kind of, you know, sometimes it'll hurt the transaction because you got that extra payment in there. That's why we like VA loans, because they don't have PMI or MI. For those of you guys who don't know what that is, that's insurance that protects the lender, and it doesn't do anything for you. Just add an additional fee to it. The same thing with conventional loans. You have PMI, so that's why we love VA deals. We do all four, but we like VA deals. So the other thing we're looking at is they're behind on payments. Is there a reinstatement? Now here's the deal: if there's a reinstatement, you got to know that property is already in foreclosure. That's the only time there's going to be a reinstatement. Now, sometimes people are behind maybe two payments, but they're still not in foreclosure. So you can still catch up the payments without having to go through the lender's attorney. And then again, inspect the property. Why are we inspecting property? Because we want to know, hey, does this property need rehab? For example, if you have a reinstatement of $10,000 and a rehab of $10,000, and somebody's giving you this deal and you're paying them $5,000, and you're paying closing of $2,000, and maybe you're estimating 3 months or 4 months of holding costs, and you're paying $1,500, you're already looking at about $30,000. And if the going rate for a down payment, if you're going to wrap this property is 20, that means you're going to float 10. And if you're only going to be getting passive income of $300-400, that person's going to be in your house for a few years before you even see a dime. And you got to be careful about that. That's why you got to know all your numbers before you even pull the trigger. You want to go to the next one, Mike? So the other thing we're looking at is this.
When we're going back and forth to your slides, we go back and forth, if we could cut back and forth to y'all, that'd be nice versus just leaving the slides up, so that way we can have a little more interaction.
Cool. That's perfect. Yeah, this is a work in progress. I'm going to go through this. You know, we got to run title. So we usually close with an attorney, but we'll sometimes close with a title company. We'll run title. We're running a search on the individuals, of course. We're checking for liens. This property had liens. You know, we're checking for liens, for example, that like this property. It had what we call, it had solar panels, and sometimes there is no lien filed, but you got to look for it. So that's what happened on this one. There was nothing filed, but then he told us, hey, I just got solar panels. And so, we knew we had to take care of that stuff. We didn't want to get into problems with the solar panel company. We're also looking at rental comps, sales comps. We're trying to figure out, are we going to rent this thing, or are we going to wrap this thing? If we got money into it, we're going to wrap it. If we're taking this property down without having anything into it, because a lot of times we'll take these deals down and we're zero into it, then we're going to rent the property. And then, of course, we're going to check the activity in the area, in the neighborhood. What our property is being sold or not, and how fast is it taking. Identify owner's motivation. In this case, it was a family conflict. They were getting divorced. Check whose loan. We also want to check who's on the loan. In this particular case, the lady was not on the loan, so she was able to sign off. And we're going to actually talk about that in a minute, because there's a real crazy story behind that. And then being on the loan, something very important people don't know, is being on the loan doesn't necessarily mean you have ownership. You sign the deed away, the loan will still be in your name. You want to know whether it's going to be cooperation between the two parties, and you never want to leave anybody in the house with a sub-2. You want to go back to us, Michael?
Can you explain
Get
a
off
little
the,
bit of that to me for me? Because
yeah,
like
get
for
off the
those
car.
that don't know what you mean, like you're saying, and never leave homeowner in the home. If I'm a new real estate investor, there's plenty of times where I'm sitting down with a homeowner, and it makes sense to say, you know what, the homeowner can afford the payments
Yeah.
moving forward. The homeowner can do this. Why don't I just leave the homeowner in the house? Why would you say never to do that? That sounds like a wise idea for somebody that doesn't understand that.
So here's the thing, Daniel. You go pay off $10,000. You reinstate the loan. They sign it over to whether to your name, an LLC, your land trust, whatever. You leave them in the property because you feel sorry for them or whatnot. First of all, if they haven't paid the property, what makes you think they're going to pay you? That's one thing. But okay, you want to be a nice guy, you want to leave them in there. Let's just say that they stop paying. How are you going to take them to court and tell a judge that they're in your house when the loan is in their name? There hasn't been a case that I know of, at least from the conversations that I've had with my attorney. There hasn't been a case that has set a precedence to that particular issue. Hey, I left them in the house. They signed the deed over to me. I paid the reinstatement. I want them out. There hasn't been a case adjudicated on that. At least that's what my attorney has shared with me. So you always want to get them out. And the reason you want to get them out, and it has to be a condition to doing this deal, is because possession is everything. And possession shows intent. And for example, with all the documentation that we have, our individuals that we take these properties over from, all the disclosures they have to sign, along with us taking possession, then moving out of the property, it clearly shows what their intent was. So that's why there's no way we can ever leave anybody in the property, and it's to protect ourselves, to protect them, to take the human element out of it. If you leave someone in the property who's having problems with the property, chances are they're going to continue to have problems, and then you're going to have a problem if they don't pay.
Awesome. All right, appreciate that.
Mike, you want to expand on that, bro?
Let's go to the numbers. That's what we want to talk about. So on this one, I definitely want to have this show breaking down the numbers, why Charles and I decided, hey, should we tackle this deal? Should we not tackle this deal? And this is one we tackled, even though it had almost $50,000 upside down. When I'm talking about upside down, we're talking about the liens, we're talking about solar panels, water softener, the reinstatement, money cost to get in. So that's what we're talking about. And if you actually guys want to see the house, let's break it down. You guys can see the numbers. You can see what we're looking at, and that's where we're at. So that's the house right there. Nice, beautiful house. Charles and I, we always refer to this house to a little castle just because of the character it has on the front. So with all the portfolio properties we have, that's the one. Hey, man, the castle with the solar panels, we know which house we're talking about. So as you can see on top, there's solar panels. On those solar panels, that's what really kind of, I want to say messed up the deal, but gave us a hard time on, hey, should we or should we not tackle this deal? Now, I want to talk about the numbers. Of course, Charles is going to chime in, and we're going to understand on why we did this deal that was a little out of our comfort range. Typically, we're around 150 to 250. This one was ARV is 325, a little higher for us, but it made sense. And because it makes sense, that's what we want to talk about. So let's look at the numbers. The numbers, we're going to start coming in here. Daniel, you see the number says real deal?
Yes, sir. I do.
All right. So real deal.
And just for everybody who's watching, guys, these are real numbers that, and everything you're going to see here, we put it into a PowerPoint here, but you have to keep in mind that when we're looking at these numbers, there's a lot of stuff that we're taking into consideration. It's all coming out as at one time. We're putting it together like a puzzle, and then we're making a decision. Can we actually do this deal?
Okay, so the real deal is ARV was 325. The balance on this house was 280. 280 with the loan amount of 680.49. Now that wasn't too bad. That's not the bad part. That's a normal deal. Of course, we'll move forward on that one all day long. But like Charles said in the beginning, when you're doing these sub-2 deals, you're subject to everything. You're not just the house, not just the balance of the loan, but the liens that come with the property. And the seller had 2 loans for the solar panels and a 3rd loan for a water softener. He really put all the bells and whistles when he first bought the house. He was excited, happy homeowner, and that's what he did, and that's fine. So that's the reinstatement. Now, the real problem comes into the issues. You guys need to understand the issues. His solar panel lien was $30,000, 30,060, 71 cents, and his water softener was $7,870. Now that alone would throw a wrench in the whole thing, because if you take the payments of the loan and you take the payments of the house and you take the payments of the water softener, the passive cash flow wouldn't make sense. We would be paying money just for this deal to pass through, even if we took down $40,000 to $50,000. Now that doesn't just stop there. We talked about the solar panels. We talked about the water softener. What we also need to talk about is holding costs. And people don't realize that when you do these sub-2 deals, you're going to hold the property for a while. Closing costs is $1,800. We're looking to close a transaction, or we put it in a trust, or we put it in an LLC. We always estimate about 60 days. This one was a little special because of all the scenarios. So if you get the holding period of 60 days, now the payment there is $2,162. So you take that amount, you times that by 2 months, that's how you get your monthly payment. So now that we want to analyze the deal, the upfront cost, the reinstatement, the 2 months of holding costs, the estimated holding costs, the payments, the estimated lien of the solar liens, the water softener, we're looking at $50,542.22. Now that's a lot of money. Whether however many sub-2 deals you do, but you do 1 a month, 10 a month, that's a lot of money.
So, Daniel, I mean,
Yes,
let
sir.
me ask you a question, brother. How many people do you think would walk away from that?
Not a lot of people I know of that would hit that deal. You got a 200 and about 87,000 on the principal and arrears, and then you've got another 50,000 in junior mortgages on top of that, which puts you right at the 320 to 330 mark, and your ARV was right at 320 to 330, right? But the biggest issue was between all three liens, the total monthly payments left you with almost limited to no cash flow. So it really messed things up. So how were you able to pull this deal down?
You gotta get creative, man. So one of the things that we do, we're really good at finding good individuals that'll buy nice properties. So we deal a lot with foreign nationals that are here for whatever reason that they need to be here, and a lot of them, they're affluent, they make money, or they're above the medium average, on income, but they don't have credit, man. They don't have credit. They don't have socials. They have I-10 numbers, and you know what? They can buy just as good as anybody else, and that's how we get some of our clients. Other clients that we go for are cash-rich individuals. In other words, they make good money. They have businesses. They just they do like everybody else, man. They write off a lot of stuff. They won't pay Uncle Sam, and they can't get a loan. But that doesn't mean they don't have good credit. That doesn't mean they don't pay on time. So we were able to find a really good we were able to find this client pretty quickly, right, Mike?
Yeah, a lot quicker than we thought.
Yeah. So that's where the deal started changing, and Mike's gonna go ahead and share that with you right now.
So like Charles said, finding this deal was tough. Not structuring. Yeah, you could do a regular sub-2 deal all day long. The important part is those sub-2 deals that you pass, got to get creative. You have to get creative. If you get it creative, if we didn't get creative on this deal, we would have lost out on a great opportunity. If you guys didn't catch this, that Charles said earlier, this is actually one of our highest paid properties in our portfolio because we got creative. So let's break down the numbers and how do we get creative? How did this happen? How do you guys get this property that had solar panels that were all in $50,000? So let's break down and let's analyze the deal. So how do we structure the deal so that ARV was 325? Now, when we do this owner finance, of course, it was a creative deal. We always kind of slightly charge a premium for this property. If we're doing a deal for someone who can't qualify the traditional route, we want to do a slight premium. So the sell price was actually 340. Now, the tricky part here, and really understanding this part here, is how do we find someone, a regular Joe Blow, a regular person who wants to buy a home that has $40,000 to $50,000 down? Now,
Can I ask a question? And I don't mean to interrupt, but may I ask a question?
No, we got to ask these questions.
So you're saying that the ARV on the property was close to 325,000, but you're sitting here and telling me you're going to resell it for 340,000. That's 15,000 more than what the ARV was. How are y'all pulling that off?
let me explain that for a second. So the opinionated ARV is 325 based on some sales, but there's actual pending properties, and then what we also they were a lot higher, and what we also look at is the appreciation rate every yearly. So what we were looking at, okay, there's a few properties that sold, at around 325, 330, but then there's some properties that are for sale for 365, 355. There's a few pending, for pushing 345, 355. So we knew that if we decided to put the property on the market, we would list it for 365. And so that's how we got to that number, that 340. So
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
So going to that 340, it's tough to find someone who has $40,000 down. In the bank account, they've been saving for whatever the case may be. But we found someone that says, hey, I really love this house. This is a dream house. I can't qualify traditionally. I would like to buy this house. We show her the house. Thing is, she doesn't have the $40,000. What she does have is $20,000. She has her own business where every month around March, April timeframe is when she makes her majority of her income. She says, can I do this? Can you guys work with me? Can we do some type of creative deal? Charles and I came together and said, hey, when could you come up with the other 20? She said, if you give me 6 months, I can come up with the other 20. Now, this is where it gets creative, guys. We sold it for $340. We gave her $40,000 on the HUD. So on the HUD, her loan amount is now $300. Mind you, she only has $20,000 down. So she still owed us $320. We actually did a split down payment. The second $20,000 we created was a second note to her. She owed us a second $20,000 and a second note due and payable in 6 months per her request. So when you split the down payment, the $20,000, the upfront cost, that's what was left over the solar panel split payment, the $13,254. That means our solar panel now that we have is $16,800. So I want to say that one more time. She had $40,000 in 6 months, $20,000 now. We sold it for $340. We took the credit of the $40,000 because she gave us $20,000. We took the second $20,000 and created a second note for her, so her loan amount was $300. Now, the reason we did that is because that $300,000 loan amount met her DTI. It met her payments. If she would have financed $320, that DTI would have been a lot higher. The payments would have been a lot higher because now you're financing an additional $20,000 in the loan. Does that make sense so far, Daniel?
Most definitely. Most definitely. So I like how this is going. Let's pull this forward.
All right. So with that being said, let's take it to the next step. You guys really have to understand structuring the deal. The solar panel balance is now 16.8. We still have the water softener lane at about 78.70. Now the solar panel's monthly payments was 456. The water softener monthly payments is 632. So what we did was, hey, you still owe, or not her, not the buyer, because it's not her problem that we have a property that has liens on it. All she needs to know is those liens will be taken care of with her deed of trust. She is not responsible for the solar panels because that's not the way we structure the deal. The balance we had left on the solar panels and the water softener was 24 and some change. The two payments that were subject to the original seller, because we not just subject to the house, we subject to the loan for the house, we subject to the loan for the water softener, and we subject to the loan for the solar panels. We are responsible for those payments. Buyer is responsible for the PITI of the loan we created. So the two payments of the solar panels and of the water softener came out to $632. Now, mind you guys, this deal we structured to have $650 a month, $650 and some change of true cash flow. So we used 6 months of the cash flow to make those monthly payments of the $632, as you see. $630 was already performing by the cash flow that we created. 6 months of the $632, mind you, she had that secondary note with us for the $20,000 due and payable in that 6 months. Her underlying lien payment is $2162. That's our loan to the Sub2 property. We created a wrap transaction of a $300,000 transaction at an 8.5 interest rate, 30 years at $29.93. That's her payment. Her payment is $29.93. Our payment is $21.62. Mind you, we also have a $630 payment for solar panels and water softener. So in those 6 months, we were cash flowing just shy of $200 and paying off the solar panels. So Charles and I became very creative, sold a house, got the new cash flow for the house, paid off the solar panels, paid the water softener, and still made cash flow, because that's the importance, guys, of being creative and structuring deal the right way. So far, so good, Daniel?
Yeah, let me see if I can recap that so that
Yeah, yeah,
way my simple mind can make sure that I'm following along with y'all. So just to do a real quick recap, this was a new construction property. This new construction property was ARV around 325. We had approximately 286,000 in principal in arrears on the on the loan payment. But then on top of the house payment, you also had a solar panel lien, and you also had a water softener lien. The two of those came up to close to $50,000 in liens and almost $650 a month in loan payments. Well, what you were able to do, and if I'm correct on this, you were able to find a buyer that was interested in buying the house for $340,000. With their interest in buying the home at $340,000, she was agreeing to put down $40,000. $20,000 of that was due at closing. The remaining $20,000 was due on a second note, payable over the course of 6 months. So you were able to net a $40,000 down payment on that property over the course of 6 months. The initial $20,000 down went to correcting her past due payments, as well as putting a dent in the money owed on the solar panel. So you're able to knock down that solar panel lien quite a bit with that initial down payment. But then the additional $20,000 that was due over the course of 6 months, that money went back to powering down the loans on the solar panel as well as the water softener, which ended up netting you close to $650-ish a month in positive cash flow monthly on a deal where you were sitting at negative equity. Does that sound about right on the recap?
That's pretty much perfect, Daniel. I think you can take it from here. No, you're spot on. You're spot on, correct, spot on, dead point. That's what we did to do this deal.
Okay, so can you pull us through a little bit more on the property? It's like when you were actually analyzing it, we're talking about close to $296,000 in gross profit over the course of 30 years. So for anybody that's watching, let's talk about that for just a second. So this one deal added about $300,000 to your balance sheet on your professional financial statement, showing your net worth close to $300,000 more. So if you did 10 of these deals, you could essentially say that your balance sheet now is $3 million. That sounds like a fairly healthy balance sheet to do on 10 deals with zero equity on them. So how did this look like in like a amortization calculator? How did this look like from that standpoint? Do y'all have the ability to discuss that or break this down and actually show some of the numbers on that side?
We do. Let me pull that back up so we can break down how do these guys talking about. You guys 296. I mean, there's barely about $20,000-$30,000 in this equity. So how does that work? So we'll break it down here. So the second 20 grand that came in, so remember that second 20 grand that came in, we were using the cash flow to pay down the solar panel balance and the water softener. After that, we actually made $476 overall. Now, how does that work? What does it mean you guys made $476? Mind you, the solar panels, the water softener, she put the 40 down. We used the cash flow to bring down the balance. The whole $630 that we're using cash flow went straight to the principal on the solar panels. So we brought down that solar panels pretty good in that 6 months. All said and done, we finished the Sub2. We did the 6 months. After the 6 months, Charles and we walked away with a measly $476 profit.
Hold on, I got to ask you. I got to clarify that with you because that sounds crazy. So you got $40,000 in down payments, and your net due to you in that first 6 months was $476. So whenever all of this deal was said and done with, how much money did you have in the deal?
Hold on, let me say something.
Go ahead, Charles.
So sometimes, Daniel, I mean, like for us, one of the motivating factors for us was we're always looking at the people that we're trying to help. So this guy was in a bad situation. The girl that he was with, they were in a bad place, man. And he was a pharmacist, and he was gonna get hurt really bad. And man, he was begging us to do the deal actually, but we were like, man, we can't do it, man. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. But sometimes you got to take a second look, especially when you know that you can figure it out, or you should try to figure it out if you can help someone. So I want to put that human element in there. And a lot of people that I've shared this with, they say, "Man, you're just saying that because you're making money." I'm like, we made $450 on this deal for all the trouble for 6 months. But since we're in this for the long haul, of course, we're gonna make money on this deal. Michael's gonna break those numbers down for you in a second. But I mean, we could have walked away from it. I mean, it would have been much easier just to walk away. But some of these deals, there's a lot of moving parts, and once you're able to put them together and make the deal work, then a lot of times what you're gonna find is, hey man, you help somebody out, and you're gonna be able to benefit from it in the long run. So yeah, we didn't make any money on this deal for 6 months, but that's okay because we're in it for the long haul. And you know what? Yeah, we've done a lot of deals where up front we make money because we've taken over many deals where they're not even one payment behind. It's just a brand new house. It's ready to go. So we make money on the down payments. We make money on the passive income. We make money on the passive equity we built to the property. So every once in a while, man, you got to take one for the team. And this one, we knew we could do it after we really figured it out. And yeah, man, that's why we did it. We didn't make a lot of money for the first 6 months, but Mike's going to show you how structuring a deal that everybody walked away from is now actually our best deal. I think it is our best deal, right, Mike?
Mm-hmm. So with that being said, let's finish off this deal. Let's finish off, how did $476 make sense? So let's go back to the quick slideshow here. 476, there it is. The second 20,000 paid off the balance of the solar panels, paid off the water softener, and we walked away with that measly 476 that we talked about. I want to show you guys the numbers of actually making sense. We paid off the secondary liens. We walked away with 476. The underlying lien is 2162. Now, mind you, PI/TI goes up after a year or so, and the new wrap note is 2820. This leads to a cash flow of $658 a month. Now, granted, we only made $450 for the first 6 months, but Charles and I, we're in this for the long haul. Like we talked about yesterday, Daniel, a wholesale deal is good. We need to start portfolioing. Anyone who's watching, whether you're wholesaling or you're trying to start your portfolio is where it's at. Wholesale is good. It gets you paid. Use that capital. But the next thing, guys, is to get creative and do a deal. Technically, Charles and I are really not out of pocket anything because we made $450 in the span of 6 months. The goal is long-term. Long-term is where it's at. So let's break down, how does that make sense? Long-term is where it's at. If you're looking at the numbers, that's the new $658.12 a month. For the next 20, Daniel, if this thing went the whole route, it would be for the next 26 years. Equity position, completed deal. If you take away our note balance and you take away the balance of the house, the underlying lien, we now have $19,180 in equity position. The underlying lien is the payment, the new wrap payment. We now have the monthly ROI of the $658.12. Now, how do we make $296,000 in the span of the 30 years? How do we make almost $300,000 in the span of 30 years? We're going to break that down to you on a deal that has little to no equity. You guys ready? Here we go. If you take $658.12, you times that by 1 year, you times it by 26 years, you will get $205.33.44. Now let's break that down. How do we get 26 years? What are you guys talking about 26 years? I don't understand. What we're talking about is we're making cash flow. The reason we say 26 years, because the loan that we sub2, that underlying lien, it's already been 4 years paid on the note. We created a 30-year note with the buyer. So we have 26 years on our note. Now, of course, this is if it performs for the lifetime of the note. We owe the bank 26 years. The buyer owes us 30 years. If this was to go on to the life of the loan, our $658.12 times 1 year times 26 years is going to equal $205. Now, let's go back to the sheet and say, well, you said it's $296. How does that work? How does that work with $296? The $296, if you take the PI/TI of the mortgage, now her wrap note is $258. The PI/TI is $1896.20. If If you take that 1896 and 20 cents, you times it by the remaining 48 months, you get $91,017 for a total profit of 296, 351 on a deal that had little to no equity. Let me say that one more time for those who are still keeping up. $296,000 over the span of 30 years on a deal that had little to no equity, and we only made $400 in the first 6 months. The goal, guys, is to get creative, structure these deals the right way to make sure it makes happen. Not only do we portfolio, not only did we help the seller out, not only did we help the buyer out to buy a house that she couldn't buy traditionally. It's a win-win situation for everyone. Everyone's happy. We're making money. The buyer's happy. The seller's happy. And this, guys, is how we did it.
So let me make sure that I understood this right. So up to this point, we know that we've taken the deal down, and ultimately, by the time you completely structured the entire sale of the property, you had no cash in the deal at all. In fact, you were cash flow positive on it. While it was close to $500, your invested capital in this deal was essentially nothing within the first 6 months. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. So from there, no money in the deal. And we're looking at approximately a $296,000 gross profit on this deal over the course of this entire loan. Now, some of the things you were saying, and I want to make sure that I understood this right. When you took this deal down, and the underlying lien was a 30-year mortgage, but the previous homeowner has already paid 4 of those 30 years off, right? So there's only 26 years left on this mortgage. You've created a new 30-year mortgage with your buyer. So this new buyer has 30 years worth of payments to make. And for the first 26 years, you're making $650-ish a month in cash flow because you're still paying on that underlying mortgage that you took Sub2 for the next 26 years. But at the 26-year mark, what you're telling me is that you pay off that underlying loan, which means you no longer have that payment to make. And for the remaining 4 years, your payments go up to the full PI value of that new buyer, which takes your cash flow from $650-ish a month to $1,800-ish a month.
Yep.
That is amazing, guys. That is really amazing. So for those out there that are watching right now, do we have any questions that are outlying that you're like, how did they structure this deal? What were they looking at when they decided to buy this? Do we have any? We've got close to 100 people watching across the 2 channels. With those people watching right now, tell me right now, what about this deal did you like? What about this deal would you have walked away from when you first started looking at this? Like most people, when they look at this deal, are going to say, you know what, there's no equity there. I'm going to walk away from it. Let me know what your thoughts are on this deal, how you would have looked at it. And if you have any remaining questions as to like, how this deal was done or what was done to make this deal happen, get your opportunity. We are live right now. Make sure to show these guys some love. They are taking the time out of their day to get out here and show you some real world examples of deals they've done. Let's get some engagement on here. Let us know what questions you have. And in the meantime, Michael and Charles, tell us a little bit more about how that deal has performed for you so far. Like, you got any concerns or anything like that that's hit with this deal?
So I wanted to show real quick, guys, if you don't mind, Charles. Let me bust up this calculator. So I want to make sure everyone fully understands what we're talking about. So you should be able to see a calculator. Now, I'll remind you, 658 and 12 cents is the PITI for 1 year. You times it by 26 years left on the note. That gives you that 205,333.44 cents. That's where we're at. Now, the PI on this deal, once the loan's paid off, because the TI always changes, the PI will never change. The PI is 1896 and 20 cents. You times that by for the last remaining 4 years, that's the 91.17. You take that and you do that. PI is where we're collecting. TI we're not collecting because TI goes to the tax and insurance. So that's a true amount, guys. Now this deal, Charles, is one of our higher paying deal. When it came to COVID-19, man, we thought, is she going to make the payments? It's up there. It's a high. Her total PITI now is about 2850-ish. But lo and behold, she's current. She's happy. The loan's still performing. She hasn't given those issues. What are your thoughts on it, Charles? How are we looking on the note?
One thing that we do, Daniel, is we don't bother our our rappies. We don't bother our individuals that are sub tours, but we stay in contact. One thing we do with all our, I guess you want to call them our sub tours. What we do is we let them know, hey, stay in contact on Facebook, whatever. You get a letter, you get something you don't understand, send us a picture of it, let us know what's going on, we'll take care of it. And so you want to jump on that really really quick when you're doing these type of deals, because if they get something in the mail and it freaks them out, you want them calling you, and you need to take care of that immediately. And so we have that relationship with all our sub tours, and then our rappies, same thing. If we see they get a payment behind, and we actually only have about maybe 5% of our deals that maybe just 2% that really fall behind, maybe a month or two, and then about five total that kind of those slow payers. Everybody else, for the most part, they're really strong. They've been paying. Everything's good, and that's because of how we choose these people when we're selling them. We're trying to find quality people that are in good situations to pay property. So that's very important. It was very important on this deal. On this particular deal, there's a small little hiccup that I won't go into because it was a personal issue for them. But the end game was that we're in contact. We've talked to this lady several times. There was a point in time where she wanted to sell the property. We're like, hey, we're here to help you. And but now she wants to keep it. So that's a good thing for us. It's a good thing for her. But you got to be in contact, man. I mean, I'm not saying smother anybody. You're not a landlord, but they got to know that if they have a problem, they can reach out to you. That's very important, because the last thing you want is for somebody to go rogue on you on either side, either the subtour or the rappee. So don't. You got to have a lot of respect for them. You got to make sure they can turn to you for an issue, and that's how we conduct our business on all our deals. This one was very creative. We had to figure it out, but it's actually our highest paying deal.
So that's some great advice, and I love that you brought that up because I think it's extremely important that you keep that line of communication open. Don't be a stranger, because if something does go wrong, these people are your business partners when you really look at it the long term way. That being said, I did have some questions coming in from the channels. One of the questions coming in from Christina. Christina asked, "What marketing strategy did you use to find this deal? Like, how was this deal presented to you?" I think you discussed that up front, but let's talk about that.
So we have different. We have a cold calling team, an SMS team, an RVM team. We have a research team, a multifamily team. These guys are putting in work. Some of them are doing research. Some of them are banging the phones, SMS, and so we've been able to develop everybody to do different things here at HPHS. This particular deal was a ground and pound type of deal. This is Miguel, one of our guys, Maverick. I think you've met him, and he's the ground and pound guy. He's out there in the field knocking them doors and stuff. And he actually ended up finding the lady across the street. And he found the lady across the street, and we were taking care of that deal. But like I said earlier, anytime you're talking to somebody, you need to be talking business. You need to be talking real estate, and that's what we do. So we're finding out about the property. We're finding out about them, what's going on with them. Because the one thing that we never want to do, and we've done this a couple of times, Daniel. Let me just share something with you real quick. I don't want to jump off topic, but let me just share with you. We will never close a deal when someone's under duress. Like, we've been at the closing table, and a homeowner is like, "Well, I didn't understand this." Or one situation, there was an agent that didn't really explain the situation to them. That's why we like to talk to them. And he was like, "Well, I already got an apartment, but I thought I was getting cashed out." We're like, "We can't do this deal, man, because you're signing under duress." So, for example, this girl that I was talking to you about, she was in a bad way. So we had to be real careful moving forward with her. And in just talking to her and building rapport, he said, "Hey, the guy across the street is also losing the house." And there was something going on between the both households, and that's what you got to do, man. You're building rapport. You're finding out a little bit about them. And what you're going to find is sometimes they're going to tell you what's going on with them. and you're going to make a decision whether you want to pull the trigger or not. In this particular case, hey, there's a guy across the street also losing his property. So we literally just walked across the street. She walked with us across the street and introduced us. And we did that. We did both. Actually, we did both those deals simultaneously, to be honest with you. We closed on both those deals the same week, right across the street from each other.
That's
And
awesome.
and so you know what? Can I explain? Let me share one other thing. So a lot of times, this is why I always tell everybody. I was talking to somebody yesterday and said, "Man, we're dealing in real estate. You got to know all things real estate. A mechanic who fixes an engine may not work on transmissions, but he knows he knows where it's at. He knows how to take off tires. He knows probably how to do a little bit of fix a little bit of electronics, change the battery. So I tell people, man, you gotta learn. If you're not learning about mortgages, how they work, the different type of mortgages, how you can stop foreclosures. If you're not learning about insurance, probates. If you're not that person that's not going to embrace this knowledge, so you can be better at what you do, then what's going to happen is you're going to be competing against people like us, against people that are taking the time to learn, about almost anything. Because when someone asks you a question, if you don't got the answers, chances are, man, that they're going to see that they caught you like a deer in the headlights, and they're going to feel uncomfortable. And when you're talking about taking people's properties and taking on their loan, they want to know that who they're dealing with is someone they can trust. And if you don't have those answers, you're going to be lacking. So I just jumped off subject and I want to share something with you about this property. On this particular property, the guy had shared with us that he was telling his ex everything that was happening, that she was on board. But it turned out that she didn't know anything. She was not on board. So the night before closing, Michael sent me over there. He said, "You got to go because she needs to get her stuff out." I got there. She showed up with like 5 guys. And I thought, oh, my God, this thing's going to go down. But, she was real nice. And she asked me some questions. And she was asking me questions. And I said, look, she didn't know anything. I said, look, I'm not an attorney. I'm not giving you advice. And what I'm about to tell you is common knowledge. You can look this up. You can call your lender. The fact is that your ex is 2 months behind. He's already gotten the notice of default. He's fixing to be 3 months behind. And very likely he's going to get the notice of sale, which is going to put you on the foreclosure list. I'm not saying you're in foreclosure. I'm just telling you that's what I know. And she went and told her attorney, who's a family law attorney. That attorney called me that morning and just berated me, cussed me out to the max, just crazy. I never even heard an attorney talk like that. But you got to know what you're talking about, because remember, even though you're dealing with an educated person who has a license, who in most cases they feel like they have the God complex, a lot of them, you got to know what you're talking about. What I told that attorney, I said, look, let me just talk for a minute, and then whatever you need to say is fine. This is what's going to happen. First of all, I didn't give your client advice. I told her what my experience was and what common knowledge was, and that she could Google this and that she could call her lender. And I told her the facts. She asked me, I said, this is what I know. That's step one. Second, here's the thing, Miss Attorney. Your client's not on the loan. She could easily sign off when they go to court and sign off this thing. And if he gets foreclosed, she gets to walk away. So if you're going to tell her not to do this deal, what's going to happen is, if this deal goes bust, they're both going to get a foreclosure. And at this point, I don't feel comfortable moving forward. So we're not moving forward. You can count us out. And she proceeded to just cuss me out, F this, F that. What happens is the next morning, the girl calls and she's like, hey, please, I want to do the deal. And I said, no, we're not doing this deal. I said, well, what's going to happen is you need to tell your attorney to call me and apologize. And then I also need a letter in her letterhead, not only apologizing in the letter, but acknowledging that she understands this transaction and that she's giving you advice to do this deal. And sure enough, by the end of the afternoon, I got a call and the attorney was like, hi, Charles, how are you? And it was like night and day, man. But that's why I say you got to know your stuff, man. And that's why I tell everybody, man, learning Sub2 is one thing. and it sounds glamorous. There's a lot that goes into it, but you got to learn a lot of stuff. I'm not saying you can't do deals without knowing all this other stuff. What I'm saying is, if you arm yourself with knowledge, you can learn how to protect yourself and protect others when you're doing these deals. And we're not perfect, but we try to do our best on every single deal that we do.
I absolutely love that you brought all that up. Like, that was a great explanation as to some of the things that you will see while doing a subject to transaction that you may not necessarily be prepared for. Like every day, man, someone will tell me like, how man, I can't believe how much you know, Daniel. And I'm like, man, I don't know nearly enough. I might know 1% of everything I actually need to know in this business. This business is expansive, and you should always be learning. You should always be out there seeking out something new. Don't ever get that mindset of I already know everything, because when you do, that's when you fail. And I love that you brought that up, Michael, or Charles, that issue did pop up with the seller's wife. All of that taken into consideration, we're pushing into this close to an hour, and I know that I've got about 10 or 15 questions popping up from the crowd. And if we could knock these 10 or 15 questions out in a fast, rapid fire kind of style, we might be able to get some answers for some of these people. I'm going to hit as many of these real quick as I possibly can, and I'll let you take over on some of them. But one of them coming in from Robert Glenn Merle Jr. asking step by step how to fill out the paperwork. Now, I'm going to step in and I'm going to say this is going to vary from state to state, and the paperwork is going to be so expansive, this answer would require an hour plus to review and speak on. But Charles or Michael, would either one of y'all mind to step in and just give a real fast, and I say like a 1 to 2 minute breakdown on the paperwork that is needed? Not necessarily all the step-by-steps of what to fill out, but what are some of the paperwork that you're looking for on a deal before you say go, no go?
Some of the paperwork we're looking for sure, if we say, hey, this is a good deal, the very first thing on any Sub2 deal, we would always need the most current mortgage statement. The reason we need the most current mortgage statement is because it has probably about 80 to 85% of everything we need to know about the property. It shows who the lender is, what type of loan it is, what's the interest rate, what's the PITI, what's the balance, what type of loan it is. And it really gives us who's on the loan, because the mortgage statement will show who's on the loan, and that's who we needed to really talk to make sure they understand. So that would be the ideal thing. We always ask people for the original closing packet, because in the original closing packet, there's a survey. We would like to take the survey, the HUD when they close, and other pertinent documents that we would like to have in the closing packet. Now we say, hey, this is a deal for us. Let's move forward. Here in Texas, we would always use the TREC 104 contract, changing it, the verbiage, to make sure it follows the subject to transaction, the special provisions, understanding that it's a subject to transaction. In the special provisions, it states this is a subject to transaction, where deed will change over to buyer and loan will stay in seller's name. That's in there. What we do for us on all of our deals, the attorney that we work with, she provides a 33-paragraph disclosure. The buyer needs to sign that the seller needs to sign that when we get the contract. Some of that stuff is, I understand it's a subject to deal. I understand, I know what I'm doing. I understand these guys are investors. I understand that the loan could stay in my name up to the life of the loan. I understand that the property is going to move over, that they can do a subject to rental, whatever they want to do to the property. It's a pretty detailed, exclusive disclosure. It's 33 pages. We get that along as well. And in quick nutshell, that's pretty much the documents we get. Now, of course, like you said, that could be a whole hour long, depending on what state you're in. But in quick 1 minute, that's the documents we get, Dana.
Just to expand just real quick on that, it also has verbiage in there like, I'm not under duress, I'm not being threatened, I'm not drunk, I'm not under the influence. All that stuff's in there because you got to protect yourself. Another thing that I want to tell you, that we'll never do a subject to, Daniel, if we don't get the original note. So we always gonna ask for the original note that's in the loan packet, because technically there's only two notes, two copies. There's the bank's and there's the one you got. And so the attorney we work with, at least when we started banging out these deals, the notes is something that we always want to get from the original packet. I mean, I know some people that do these deals without getting that, but at the end of the day, I mean, if you ever had to fight the bank, you better have that note. And so that's something that a lot of people don't do, but we make sure we get the note on every single property out of the original closing packet.
All right, so coming back over here, I've still got a long line of questions popping up, and you did say that you get the note, the original note. If anybody out there is watching right now that didn't pick up on that, I know it was a side note. That note is extremely important. You don't want to be pulling down a balloon. You don't want to be pulling down an arm. You need to figure out exactly what the loan details are, and that's going to be described to you in that prom note. So if the seller doesn't have the prom note, make sure you file your third-party authorization with the banks and request the prom note directly from the bank, so that way you can see the most current and relevant copy, because there could have been a loan modification done or something along those lines in the interim that you may not be aware of. The deed of trust should have been updated in the county, but you need to be seeing these types of things. You need to be aware of those types of things. But coming back over here to the comments, and I've got about 10 or 12 questions I'd like to hit before we wrap this up, because we still need to let everybody know what this show is going to work like next week. So those out there that would like to see your own deals broken down, let's say you've got a phone call coming in on your wholesaling advertising, and you see a deal that doesn't make any sense to you, and you'd like to see how Charles and Michael would analyze this deal, then get prepared for the end of this show, because we're going to announce to you exactly how you can see Michael and Charles break down your deals live on the show, one at a time, so that way you can see how a pro in this industry is going to look at a deal and try and put together their own numbers to make money on a deal you would have otherwise walked from. So I've got a couple more questions for you guys. Let's try and leave these answers to less than a minute, because I've got 10 questions, 10 minutes. That's going to go fast. How long, coming in from Claudio Diaz, how long did it take you guys on this deal from start to close?
Claudio, how you doing, buddy? So that one on this deal, Charles, I would say 60 days from the day we actually met the seller to the day they needed about 10 to 14 days to move out, get all their stuff, close on the property. I think we only put maybe about $1,000 in rehab on this house, maybe $2,000, but $1,000 or so. That took about 3-4 days, and then we put it for sale. On this one, we didn't put on the MLS. To believe it or not, guys, we actually found a buyer on a Facebook ad or a Craigslist ad. People think that Craigslist don't work, but it actually works. That was that one. And I think also what we do is we put a for sale sign throughout the neighborhood, say, hey, house for sale, $20,000 down, easy qualifying. So all in all, from the day we got the contract, the day we met the seller, to the day we actually closed and gave the keys to the buyer, we're probably about a good all-in 60 days on this transaction.
And signs work great when you're trying to do an owner finance, a seller finance. So keep that in mind, guys.
Awesome. So thank you for that one. So I've got another question coming in here from Christina. How do you approach a seller with this strategy? How did you approach the seller with this strategy?
Well, I'll chime in on that one real quick, and I'm gonna keep it real quick. So here's the deal. I always, on these type of deals, we always want to tell someone we do by cash. So hey, Mr. Seller, look, you referred to me. Thank you for letting me know about the property. I am interested. We do buy cash. However, we can't buy cash. We have options. Now, not everybody qualifies for those options, you know. So not everybody qualifies. So I'm gonna have to see some of your documents. So what did I do? I said we buy cash, because if I don't say that, and sometimes we have bought cash if it's a fix and flip with equity. But if you don't say you got cash, he ain't gonna listen to what you want to talk about. So if you do buy cash, then you can say that without feeling like you're fibbing. So the next thing I say is, however, we can't buy cash. We have options, because I need him to hear that. Now he ain't hearing that; he's hearing the cash, but you need him to hear that. And then the third thing I say, or we say, is, but not everybody qualifies, because he needs to know not everybody qualifies. That's the takeaway. So now you've set it up. So now when you go see the property, and you've already made a determination this is a subject to that you want to take down, then we're gonna talk, we're gonna wrap, we're gonna get to know each other, and then I'm gonna say, look, Daniel, we do buy cash. That's a fact.
All right, I love that.
I cannot buy your property cash.
I do. I love that. So,
yeah.
Moving forward with this, like for those of y'all out there watching right now, I'm getting a massive amount of questions. Some of them are pulling quite a ways off of topic, and I understand that. So if y'all are just now getting introduced to the Propelio TV channel, to HBHS, the Home Buying Home Selling Solutions, you need to go out and follow these guys in their group. You've got the Home Buying Home Selling Association group out there on Facebook. Y'all do a lot of live Q&As there. Y'all got the Tuesday night or the Tuesday midnight hustle, where y'all go in there and y'all spend 2, 3, 4 hours straight just going through and answering people's questions. So don't forget to follow these guys. Don't forget to follow their group and hit them up over there. We are going to get some of these questions answered, but for the ones that are pulling off topic that are going to require a considerable answer, you're going to have to follow them over there, and or go out and check out the history in the Propelio TV. So like for those that are not aware of youtube.com/Propelio, all of the questions I have seen so far coming in from the group is already answered in the Propelio channel somewhere. So like I know for right now, like Robert Glenn Merle Jr., you've just asked another question. Can we get a sample of the style of contracts? For those that have not been paying attention, over the past 2 to 3 weeks, we've had another Sub2 specialist going through breaking down how to contract a Sub2 deal and how to contract a wrap sale. So between both of those, he breaks down specifically. One of the shows is almost 2 hours long. He goes through step by step, like this is the paperwork I'm looking for. This is what's going on. Here's the paperwork. On y'all's side, Charles and Michael, this man is asking to see if he can see a sample of the contracts. On my side, I know that I spent close to $20,000 in deal splits to get access to my contracts. I know that my other contracts, I've got close to $8,000 to $10,000 in it. With all of that taken into consideration, Michael and Charles, this man is asking to see a sample of your contracts. Is that even possible? And if you say no, I would completely understand why.
So Charles and I, we always want to give back. We definitely want to give back. Charles and I have been discussing, hey, we use these contracts, we use these disclosures, the authorization to release, everything we need, even down to, hey, who's looking for subject to deals? This is a transaction checklist. We will need this information before a wholesaler or another investor say, hey, would you look at this transaction? Charles and I have been putting something together, and we do plan on releasing it. That document will be found at the Facebook group, Home Buying Home Selling Association. Under that, there is a documents tab. Whenever Charles and I, we feel like, hey, this makes sense for everyone, and it makes sense, we're going to share it with you guys. That's where we're posted, Daniel. But of course, like you said, I know you have documents, and I'm sure they can find some on the Academy as well.
I truly appreciate that, man, because like those documents are lifesavers for those that don't have access to them. When you're first getting started in this business, having access to the proper contracts is key. And whenever you're approaching attorneys and that hourly bill is $350 an hour, it doesn't take long to wrap up $10,000, $15,000 in paperwork real fast. For someone in the game that's been doing this for as long as y'all have, to allow those types of paperwork to be released out to these people, I do not know if y'all understand the value that these guys bring and the heart that these guys are bringing. And you know, they had to learn this bootstrap from the ground up. They didn't have an HBHS to help them up. They didn't have a Propelio TV to help them up. So for them to go forward and reach down to the next group of people coming into this business and helping them up is definitely commendable. So if you're watching right now, make sure that you're showing these guys love. They just offered you something that I paid close to $20,000 for personally. So make sure that y'all are following and paying attention to them. I'm going to keep on going forward. I'm going to see if I can hammer out 4 or 5 more questions. I got a Gerald Keys. What is your strategy for zero equity deals? That was the pretty much go back and rewatch this. But if you have not already watched Propelio Academy, Gerald, Propelio Academy is 100% free. There's a full 18-hour course in there on creative financing subject to and wraps that you should watch. It will show you step by step on how to structure zero equity deals. Michael and Charles, do y'all have any other resources where somebody could go out there and literally step by step watch and figure out how to do a zero equity deal? Because that is an 18-hour class.
That is an 18-hour class. A step-by-step, and Charles and I, we got a lot to do on our to-do plate, and I think eventually we'll get around to it. The closest thing we probably have is, like you said, either go to the Propelio Academy and look at that 18-hour course. You can also go to Home Buying Home Selling Association on YouTube, and we have numerous podcasts of talking about subject twos and the little to no equity deals. I think one of the episodes itself is all about little to no equity deals. What are your thoughts, Charles?
I mean, look, Daniel, we put a class together. It was really productive. It was a 9-hour class, just up to, and it was every single minute was filled with just dropping bombs, man. Something about subject to that people don't realize is that you got to be careful with those dormant loans. And that's a whole other subject. Something people don't realize is them 80/20s that people filed bankruptcy on, and they were charged off. Those banks are now coming back now and claiming those 20% and threatening to foreclose if you don't absorb them. And people are like, "What are you talking about?" And see, you're not gonna know that unless you do a lot of subject twos. And that's why I always tell people, look, man, if you're not ready to do a subject two, because you're ready to really vet it out, you gotta be careful. I mean, we got hit on the head with that. That's how we were introduced to it. You know, we did a deal, and hey, the 20 we thought was charged off. We called the bank for 3 years. We had access to call the bank. No, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Then all of a sudden, you get hit with a foreclosure notice. What are you talking about? Yeah, it was charged off, but it wasn't written off. This loan is owed, and so people don't know that unless they do a lot of these things.
So, okay, man, like y'all are just continuously dropping nuggets, and I can make this show last for 3 hours with questions. But for everybody out there, YouTubers, hey guys over there on YouTube, I have not forgotten about you. I'm about to grab your questions right now. Over here on the Facebook side, we've got a massive amount of love coming in from y'all. Matt, Liana, Jeremiah, Anna Marie, Robin, all of y'all. Thank y'all for showing the love. Y'all are getting a lot of tremendous love over here. Don't forget to follow these guys over there at the HBHS Association, the Facebook group, Home Buying, Home Selling Association. They've got an amazing Facebook group. Help them out. Follow them over there. But y'all are getting a ton of love over here, guys. So I want to make sure that y'all know that. Let me hop over here to YouTube and see if I can get some of these questions asked for these guys. We've got a bunch of them coming over here. What's up? What's up?
I do see a quick question, if I can chime in real quick, from Jeremiah. Jeremiah says, do you guys buy deals all over Texas? And then the quick answer is we do. So Charles and I have been fortunate enough to start buying sub-twos heavily in El Paso. We're buying deals in Laredo, of course, here in San Antonio. Charles and I have got comfortable of now we're buying these subject to deals without actually even seeing the property anymore. We just look at the numbers. We got boots on the ground. We look at the statements. We run numbers. And once you figure out your numbers and you know the deal's going to make sense, then by all means, it makes sense to us. So yeah, we're definitely looking for deals all over Texas.
Okay. Much love on that side, and I'm quite certain that you might even entertain something outside of Texas. So don't forget about these guys on any sub-2 deal that you do. So
looking at a sub-2 deal in Virginia.
Virginia, look at y'all. Nationwide home buyers, look at this. Let me jump back over here to YouTube. A lot of love coming in on YouTube as well. We've got close to 90 people watching right now. We've had a little bit over 100 people watching for the most of the show. All of those things taken into consideration. Love every one of y'all for taking time away from your day. And I want to make sure that y'all are showing love to Michael and Charles for their time. Coming back over here to YouTube, though, I got Carmelita in here. And one of the questions she asked, and try, please try. Let's keep these answers under a minute. Did they seek out additional professional input to work those numbers outside of their title company?
So, look, with experience comes knowledge. And, I want to shy away from saying we're experts. Look, I don't know any true experts that have been certified anywhere around the country. If I was going to look up to anyone, just to be full disclosure, and I think you mentioned him a minute ago, I would say, yeah, I would subscribe to Grant, Kemp. I mean, I think he really knows his stuff. But no, we do these deals because, yeah. I don't want to say it, but I feel like I'm an expert at what I do. I put a lot of time into it. Mike puts a lot of time into it. We put a lot of thought, creativity, time, years. We've done hundreds of deals, and so there's nobody here that can put that sword on us and say, hey, you guys are experts. But I think we feel like we know what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? And if I was gonna look to someone, it would most likely be Michael or Grant. So that's just how I feel about it.
Well, much love, man. So going in on the next question, and this is going to be a good question. I think this answer probably deserves more than a minute, but let's try and keep it down to less than maybe 2 minutes or so. But it is a great question because it's one that hasn't been addressed, and it's very pertinent to this current scenario. We're talking about a $296,000 gross profit off of a zero equity deal. But I have a question coming in from Thomas Merlock. And he says, what if they go get their own loan in 5 years? Let's say your wrap buyer goes out and refinances in 5 years. How does that affect your deal? Does that scare you? What's your thoughts on the buyer going out and getting their own loan here in the next 5 years?
So for the next 5 years, whether it's next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, or 5 years, it would actually behoove the buyer to go refinance the transaction. Now, when we did this transaction for them, we did it at 8.5%. And Charles and I, we feel like that's actually a pretty fair interest rate for owner finance transaction, when I think ideally most people are probably hovering around 10 to 12%. However, when we talked about these numbers, her balance on the loan versus our balance on our loan after we collected the 650 cash flow for 5 years, after we collected that 450 transaction after the 6 months, we're still looking at about, what number is that? 650 a month, Charles, times 60 months. We're still looking at $39,000. In the span of 5 years, we still made $39,000. We made money 3 times on this deal. The $450 up front, which is not much, but it's still $450. The $650 a month for 60 months, if they were to refinance in 60 months. That $650 for 60 months equals $39,000. Mind you, their loan, our loan, as of today or as of day one, we had $19,000 and some change. In 5 years, our balance is going to go lower because we have a 3.625 interest rate. Her balance is going to go a little slower because she has an 8.5 interest rate. I would estimate in 5 years that $19,000 equity, I would estimate it'll probably be around $27,000 to $28,000 equity. So now we got the $450 up front, the $450 in 6 months. We got 5 years of cash flow that equals to $39,000, and I would estimate that current equity is $19,000, and 5 years would be around $28,000. So now you got that also on the back end for a total of estimated numbers of $67,000 in the 5 years. That 30-year term, of course, would be great, but in 5 years, we're still making $67,000, and the buyer's happy because she got a better interest rate. The seller's happy because now the loan is off the seller's name, and everyone just moves about their day.
And to expand on that, Daniel, you got to know something about us, man. I know you know us pretty well, so you'll know what I'm saying here. Look, man, we're always happy when somebody levels up or does something better. We don't go into these deals. We're into it for the long haul. And if they go along, if they're gonna go the long journey with us, that's fine. But if somebody can level up and refinance in 5 years, man, more power to you, man. I mean, we got something out of it. You got something out of it. The seller got something out of it. So it's all good. I mean, we ain't never gonna be mad about that. As a matter of fact, we're gonna be like, hey, man, we got one off our plate. Let's go get some more.
We actually encourage it, to be honest with you.
I love it. So I'm going to break that down real fast to make sure that I got that right. So if someone refinances in the first let's say in 5 years, that's 60 months. So you get 60 months of payments, which equals out to about $39,000 in cumulative payments over 60 months. Nobody wants to complain about making $40,000 on a zero down deal or a zero win deal. So you make close to $40,000 in cumulative cash flow. But then whenever they go to refinance, their note with you, I'm just going to throw out a number. Their note with you is $300,000. But your note, the underlying lien that was taken subject to, let's say the loan value on that one is $270,000. So whenever they cash you out of your loan at the $300,000, the underlying loan is at $270,000. So when they cash out, you're actually going to get a check at closing that gives you close to $30,000 as a lump sum payment, or close to a $30,000 lump sum payment right there at the end at the refi. So when these people do refinance, you're getting a really big paycheck that day. Plus you got a nice, healthy, comfortable monthly payday every single month. So your total profit, if they did refinance at 60 months, was close to $67,000. And Thomas responded back a little bit into this, and he said, yeah, they get cashed out, but they lose, the loan still exists. Not necessarily. That buyer what they're going to get out of the refinance is they're going to be able to clear that high interest loan at 8.5% and be able to refinance into a smaller interest loan, hopefully, and be able to reduce their principal, or not the principal balance, but reduce their PITI payment through a lower interest rate. So the buyer ends up winning because they get a lower interest rate. HBHS wins because they get that lump sum on the refi of their equity. So overall, that sounds like a really solid deal to me. Does that sound fair?
And when somebody refinances, Daniel, somebody refinances, that happened before. We never, ever, trust me, man. Our thought process is not like that. We never look at it as a loss. We're just like, great, let's just keep going. That's our thought process is.
Awesome. Well, on my side, I believe that we have caught up. I do believe that we have caught up. I have Matt Smith. I'm going to bounce over there to Facebook for just a second. Facebook guys, if y'all asked a bunch of questions, I'll get one or two answered and then we're out of here, because guys, you've got to get your answers in and get your answers or questions in fast, because we do have a limited amount of time with these professionals. They still run their business. They've got an office full of absolute great people that are working with them. So we can't capitalize on all of their time today, but make sure you got your questions in. Matt Smith asks, who did y'all guys learn from? Who was your mentor in all of this?
I'm going to tell you who the mentor is. So Charles and I have been doing this for 9 years. Back then, 9 years, there was no Propelio Academy. There was no, YouTube on Sub2 deals. The mentor we had was, I had Charles, and Charles had myself, and we kind of just figured out to be honest with you, completely honest with you, that's kind of how we did it. We heard about Sub2. We talked to attorneys, just like yourself, Daniel. We talked to attorneys. We talked to other investors. We talked to old timers. You got old timers like what's his name, guy? Charles, Pete Fortunato. We talked to Pete Fortunato, and he's doing this for 40 years. You talked to someone like Mitch Stevens, who's been doing this for a long time. You kind of hear about it, but just to the past couple of years, there really wasn't no academy. So if you guys really got to take for granted the Propelio Academy. How much value is into something like that? But I don't know, Charles. What would your answer be on something like that?
It was the one thing that we were always real careful about, Daniel, was making sure we weren't doing the wrong thing or doing something that was, illegal. And I was already familiar with credit financing. I was familiar with it because I used to facilitate private transactions. But when Mike and I started putting deals together, getting real creative, and aside from Sub2s and other deals, it's just figuring it out, man. But today, people don't need to do that. We didn't have mentors. It was just a lot of deals that we did. But today, hey, man, people can get on that Propelio Academy. They can seek out, YouTube. Follow good people. You gotta be able to discern who's giving you the juice and who's not giving you the juice. Now, if you're going to the Propelio Academy, and we've been saying this a lot, Daniel, because we believe in it. You did something real special for everybody. You brought a lot of quality individuals to share, and man, I get people all the time, man, where do I learn this stuff? Did you join the Propelio Academy? Well, I've been on YouTube. Okay, but you need to join the Propelio Academy because everything you're looking for is there. If you want to expand past being a wholesaler, then you need to go there and learn from all those awesome individuals who have shared their knowledge with people. And that's an opportunity you're giving us today, which we appreciate, because that's what we're about. We're just sharing what we do, our experiences. There's other people that do it a little bit different. That's okay. But yeah, we didn't have mentors, brother. We just did a lot of deals, and we learned along the way by making sure we weren't doing it stupid, talking to the right people, and getting advice from people that knew more than we did, primarily attorneys.
Well, I absolutely love that, and I really don't know if people watching right now understand the difference in the environment from today to 10 years ago. 10 years ago, none of this stuff was around. Facebook groups not around, YouTube's podcasts and stuff like that. The amount of value y'all guys are getting right now is unheard of. So if y'all are sleeping on this channel, make sure y'all are subscribing to both Propelio Group as well as youtube.com/Propelio. There's massive amounts of information in both of those places. And the wonderful work that these guys have done over there at the Home Buying Home Selling Solutions group there on Facebook is just immense. go follow them over there. They have a bi-weekly show on Tuesday nights called the Midnight Hustle, where they go sit down and they just open books, ask them questions. Whatever the question is, they'll sit down and pop it off and try and help you out with it. So make sure that you're following these guys. These guys are like virtual mentors to you. They truly do have love for each and every one of y'all. I'm not going to get into their backgrounds, but both of them have lived some really, really tough times. We've all seen struggles, and these guys know what those struggles feel like, and I see them trying to reach back down to the next generation of investors looking to get in on this and pull them up to the next level. And I always have respect for anybody that's doing that, no matter what's going on. So I want to give both of y'all massive amounts of love for doing that. And let's go ahead and stop on the questions now. I'm going to cut over. I'm going to give both of y'all a chance to describe how this show is going to work and what they should expect on next week's show with y'all, 11 a.m. on Thursdays. So mark your calendars. Make sure that you're going out there and putting this on your calendars, because these guys are going to come in every single Thursday at 11 a.m. And what are y'all going to do for these guys at 11 a.m. on Thursdays? Because I think this is really, really amazing what y'all are going to be doing for these guys.
Well, Daniel, I'm sharing the flyer. If you can share that with these guys who are watching. So every Thursday at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, Propelio TV presents the REI Hustle. We are going to break down real deals, real numbers, real strategies on how exactly, just like we did today, on how we got a deal, how creative we got, how we put the structure together, and make these deals happen not only for us, but make it happen for the seller and make it happen for the buyer. And more importantly, we want to make this stuff happen for you guys who are watching this channel. So, Charles, what are we thinking next week? What are we thinking next week? And then we got to talk about how can you guys who are watching provide your own scenarios and how Charles and I would tackle it if it was our deal.
I just want to say one thing before I go into that. The one thing, man, and that I will say to everybody who watches us, man, well, what you hear, what we share with you is the real deal. We're not fluffers. What we share with you is what we do. Now, you may ask us a question about something we don't do, and we may share with you what we know about it, but we'll tell you, hey, that's not our wheelhouse. That's not what we do. But anything we talk about, man, you can rest assured that's what we do. We've done it. If we're talking about it, we've done it a lot of times. We're comfortable with it. We're comfortable sharing it. And we're always going to bring the heat, man. We're always going to bring the heat. And what I mean by that is, and I don't judge anybody, but what I'm saying is what HPHS does and what Propelio does, I know that for a fact, is if we're going to break something down to you, we're going to break it down. And that's what's important to me, that when somebody walks away, after they talk to me, that they understand, man, I got it. I understand. And maybe they need a little bit of help, and that's okay. Maybe you go on and do a deal, give us a call, and you go make some money, and that's fabulous. Or maybe we end up doing a JV deal together. That's great. Or you find someone else. The key thing here is, man, to give people opportunities and share with people, because if you're doing that, it's going to come back to you tenfold. And that's what we believe in, man.
I love that.
And what to expect from us, and when we do these shows, we're going to be talking about real life situations, real life deals that we did. And you know what, Daniel, I'd love to also do a couple shows on some deals that went south. There's some deals that hurt. You know why?
Really
because
important.
It's not all peaches and cream, man.
I think that's real important, because I'm more impressed by people's losses than their wins. I have to tell everybody out there right now watching, if you've got somebody talking about mentoring you or something like that, one of the questions I would always ask them is, tell me about the 5 deals that you lost the most money on. That's a great question I believe you should ask a mentor, because I get really nervous if I ever talk to somebody like, I've never lost money on a deal. If somebody tells me they've never lost money on a deal, I start getting a little nervous, because if you've been in this business long enough and you've been aggressively buying enough, someone tells you they've bought thousands of deals and never once lost a dime, I get nervous. I'd say it's possible, but I haven't met a person yet that's being honest and genuine that says they've never lost money on a deal. I've done probably about 100 to 150 deals myself, and I've lost money on probably about 5 or 6 deals. Now, it's not often, but you know what? Those 5 or 6 deals taught me a lot. And whenever I would sit down talking to somebody, I'd be like, I appreciate those 144 deals that you did really well on. Tell me about those 6 that murdered you. And it's those types of questions that will really bring you into some insight into their core values and how they operate within their business. So to recap, Michael, Charles, We just broke down a deal where most people would have walked away, zero equity on the thing. You pulled out a gross potential $296,000 in positive cash flow. And looking forward to next week's show, what y'all are opening up the doors to is allowing somebody from the audience to bring their deals in on this conversation. We might even be able to get y'all in on Zoom with these guys. We get y'all in on Zoom with these guys, and you can sit there and have a face-to-face conversation virtually with these guys and say, hey, here's the deal that I'm looking at. I got this deal. It shows to have no equity on the board. Michael and Charles, how would you break this deal down for us? And with that type of value, Michael and Charles can sit there and have a one-on-one conversation with you virtually and say, hey, that deal has no equity in it, but here's how I'm going to show you to make $177,000 of potential gross income off of that deal, and here's how it's going to look. So for those that do not feel the weight of that, can I get y'all once again, Michael and Charles, tell everybody out here watching right now what it is exactly that y'all are willing to do with these people?
Well, I'm going to speak on that first. I'm excited, man. The one thing that I'm excited about is the opportunity to shine on this show and to show people real skills, not that anybody else doesn't have. I'm just talking about mine and Michael's. and break it down, man. 1, 2, 3. Make it simple. Where are you coming? How are you coming up with these concepts? Why is it going this way? Why is it going that way? How are you breaking it down? Why are you talking about future appreciation on this deal? What does all that mean? People don't know this stuff, man, and you got to break it down for them. So I'm excited. I hope we don't get stumped. I'm hoping we don't get stumped. I feel very confident. And I appreciate the opportunity, Daniel, that you're giving us. I feel very confident that we'll be able to tackle almost any type of deal that comes through the show. If it's something that we haven't done, we're gonna say, you know what, we haven't done that. We'll be really, really honest about it. But I'm excited. I'm really excited, man.
All right. Well, I'm excited as well. So for everybody that's out there watching right now, we got about 80 people between YouTube and Facebook. For all of y'all out there watching right now, don't forget to show these guys some love. Don't forget to go out there and follow them on the Home Buying Home Selling Association group there on Facebook. I want to tell each and every one of y'all, thank you for joining in. I want to give a massive amount of thank you to Charles and Michael both for giving up their time and being a part of this here today. I want to say thank you to each and every one of y'all. If y'all have never seen Propelio.com, before we get out of here, do not forget Propelio.com is who sponsors this podcast, this show. With Propelio.com taken into consideration, if you need access to MLS comps, if you need to download lead lists like high equity, vacant properties, pre-foreclosures, those types of things, you can download up to 5,000 leads per day on Propelio.com. If you need a Driving for Dollars app, go out there and download right now, Propelio mobile app. Open up your phone, go over there to your Play Store, go over to your iStore, wherever you're going, and download the Propelio mobile app, your source for going out there, driving for dollars, pinning properties, sending direct mail, taking pictures of properties, skip tracing, all of that available on the Propelio mobile app coming here. And if you need a website with a professional branded email and or web address for your business, if you're out there talking to your sellers and you're like, yes, my name is Mr. Fly-by-Night Wholesaler at gmail.com. That does not sound very professional. That does not give you a professional representation with that seller. You can go to Propelio.com and in less than 10 minutes, get yourself a Daniel at DanielBuysHouses.com email. Get yourself a DanielBuysHouses.com website. You can go through and get all that stuff done at Propelio.com. And if you've never seen it, go out there, check it out. Definitely a resource for you. Propelio mobile app, Propelio.com. And for those that have never been there, Propelio.com/academy is your 100% free resource to learn everything there is to know about real estate investing. Don't forget about that. Don't sleep on it. Don't discredit it. Make sure you go out there, check it out, see what's going on. Any final thoughts, Charles and Michael, on people, how they can get in touch with you, how they can do business with you, and how they can provide you value?
No, man. So just really excited for next Thursday at 11 o'clock with the RAI Hustle on Propelio TV. Real deals, real numbers, real strategies. We're going to show a couple more examples of deals that we've done, and then let's start analyzing your deals so we can see, hey, this is how we would do it. If you guys get a chance, like Daniel said, you can get more content of what we do and how we do it on Facebook group Home Buying Home Selling Association, also on the YouTube channel Home Buying Home Selling Association. Of course, guys, don't always forget about Instagram. You can follow myself at Mike_HBHS, at Charles_HBHS. We definitely want to provide value to you guys here at Home Buying Home Selling. We also use Propelio. We use Propelio Academy. You can see the tools that we use on our website at turnupthehustle.com. Charles?
Man, I couldn't have said it better. I couldn't have said it better.
Well, love you guys. I absolutely want to say thank you from my side of the table to yours. Nothing but love, nothing but respect. Truly enjoy seeing what y'all are doing. I look forward to seeing the future that y'all are building for the community, and I appreciate each and every single one of y'all. For the 80-ish people watching still right now, I'm sure that every single one of them are clapping their hands. They're showing you love. They're giving out those likes. They're telling the Facebook algorithms how much they love. They are remembering to go out there and like, subscribe, and share. They're going over there to the YouTube. They're hitting the subscribe button. They're hitting the notification button because they want to hear HBHS come in here and provide that value. So all the subscribers that are out there right now, love you guys. For the HBHS crew, nothing but love. Thank you guys, and I look forward to seeing y'all next Thursday, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. Nothing but love, guys.